What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Average Bob, and in today's episode, we have a special guest, a very old friend of mine. He happens to be a Cowboys fan, but it's a good episode because we chat a lot about the last Giants-Cowboys game, what he thinks the Giants need to do to be successful, and overall, just a great time. It is a podcast, a virtual podcast, so if you don't want to watch us have a virtual conversation, you can go to Spotify. I will put the link in the description and also as the top comment, so you can listen to the audio version only of this podcast. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first ever guest appearance on the Average Bobcast. We are bringing in a very special guest on today's episode. He is unfortunately a Cowboys fan, but so far looking good for him so far this year in 2 games versus the Giants, where he was down in Jerry's World for the last game. So we'll touch on that. But welcome our good friend, Joe Mo. Joe, welcome to the Average Bobcast.
Thank you, Bob. It's a absolute pleasure and honor. Pumped to be here.
Yeah, man, we'd love to have you. This is our first guest appearance, so I know the Average Army is going to be super stoked about it. They're going to be popping off in the comments, but yeah, so let's dive into it. Huge monkey in the room, or wherever we want to talk about it, whatever analogy you want to use, is last weekend, Giants get absolutely throttled by the Cowboys.
49-17, which is somehow like feels worse. Like we were all at week 1 at MetLife, and what is that, 40-0? And like this game kind of felt worse almost.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with how both games have gone, right? Because Giants fans came into this season pretty cocky, maybe a little too cocky after the year that we had last year. And then you come in week 1, you go right down the field, first drive of the game, first drive of the season, and you get a field goal block for 6 the other way. And that play single-handedly set the tone for the entire season almost. It's kind of been downhill really since that moment, and the Giants haven't had a chance. So then you fast forward to last weekend's game, where now we're completely out of it. And then it just turns into Tommy DeVito starting. And usually the Cowboys will come out and talk shit on the comments and like, you know, just be like, Giants suck, blah, blah, blah. I don't even think anyone is really talking shit. They honestly feel bad for this current state. And it was pretty evident early on in this game.
That was honestly the whole attitude. Like a lot of the guys I was with were Giants fans, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Let's just like drink and have a good time and check out the stadium and just like party in Dallas. Like it wasn't like a bitter rivalry where you're coming and talking shit and like you don't really want to even like sit next to each other because everyone's like on edge. It's like, nah, whatever. And like, you know, we'll touch on it, but like literally by the third quarter, it's like, all right, why don't we just get out of here? Like this kind of sucks.
Yeah. And unfortunately, too, one of our buddies who went with me to the first game at MetLife Stadium went with you down in Dallas for this one. So he saw the Giants get outscored in person 89-17. And, you know, he obviously probably had a lot of fun at the tailgate leading up to that game, because I know we had fun the first game, but it's just tough, and it's a tough pill to swallow. And it just really sucks because, you know, again, going into the season, we had such high hopes, and here you go. It's another Giant season, and we're 2 weeks into November, and it's way over by now. And now we're talking about like actually drafting a sick quarterback in the draft. So it's crazy how fast things change. But let's go back to the game, right? You're walking in Jerry's World. You know, the vibe there's got to be pretty chill, right? Because the Cowboys have strung together a couple wins, and well, the weekend before they did lose to the Eagles at home, but there was no better place for a get right game than the Cowboys at home to just get that poor taste out of your mouth. So yeah, let's go back to that.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely good vibes coming in the stadium. Everyone's, you know, feeling good. I mean, you want to talk about like the difference between going to a game there versus going to a game at MetLife. Like, oh, from, you know, downtown Dallas to the stadium, it's like a $40 Uber and took, you know, 45 minutes with a little bit of traffic, but like drops you off right there. It's like pretty painless top to bottom versus, you know, week 1, we're going from the Upper East Side to MetLife, and it was like, you know, $100 Uber that took a while. You're sitting in traffic, and then dropped us off in the wrong spot. We had to walk around the entire stadium. Like, just the dichotomy of the experience is pretty jarring. But then also too, it was always sick. Like I remember when we went the first time, you walk through the doors and you're just like, wow, like holy shit. There's like the noise, the, you know, 4 levels all enclosed. It just feels so big. The scoreboard, like everything, right? It's just, it takes your breath away. And like when we walked in, our one buddy who'd never been there literally said, wow. And he like was standing there immediately, starts like filming everything. Cause it's like, yeah, it's impressive to just go and see. And then you compare that to like trudging into MetLife. It's like, all right, everything's gray and like you're walking through like the enclosed concourse that just feels like depressing, and it's like it's a totally different atmosphere. But no man, it was good vibes altogether. Although I do have to say, I don't, is MetLife like this where if you can't walk through like around the stadium on the first level, it's like blocked off by the club?
Yeah, so there is an area. It's not on the first level, I believe. You could walk around fairly easily. I forget. It might be like on the second level where you kind of hit the like a break area, but it's not as bad as I remember in Jerry's World that
Dude,
time, where it's like there's no way you could get through around.
I
Like
was
you
like,
have to
oh,
walk
can we
all the
get
way out and
like
around.
we're on the other
Like,
side? And the guy's like, oh yeah, you can walk up to the 400s all the way around and then back down. Dude, I mean, I know we're fatter and older now. I was like dying. Like I sat down my
yeah.
seat, just like kind of hyperventilating of just like Jesus Christ. Like that was a serious design flaw. Like you literally can't walk around the stadium if you wanted to. No, but it was good. We had solid seats. But honestly, I was nervous. I mean, like, how did you feel after the first, like, Cowboys drive it down, go for it or fourth, get stopped, and then the Giants are
Oh,
they
I
get the
mean,
ball back, they drive down. It's like I was starting to feel like this might turn into just like a sloppy suck fest that like Giants D steps up, Dak throws a
yeah.
couple picks, Mike McCarthy shits his pants, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like,
No,
it's like a 13-10 Giants win.
yeah, no, it did have that potential. You're absolutely right. And I think that was a smart move by Mike McCarthy, obviously going for it on like the half-inch yard line. Because if you don't go for it there, or if you go for it and don't get it, you're making Tommy DeVito go 99 yards. And the
Yeah,
only chance there is if Saquon breaks a run. You're not going to pass one. And they barely got out. There
gotta be
could have been a
that
couple of
like
safeties there.
like
Uh,
I think the first two plays was like what the first was Saquon like barely getting out of the end zone, and everyone was like running
yeah.
to the safety sign, and
Yeah,
then
his body was in the end zone on those,
yeah,
and the
like
ball, like he was. It's funny. It's the reverse of like reaching for the pylon to get into the end zone. You're trying to get out of your own end zone and
yeah,
extend it.
yeah,
So
it was absolute disaster. I mean, watching it, and that was on the side I was sitting on. We were kind of like above the end zone. Like every play, the interior of the Giants O line was just getting absolutely fed. Just like there's guys everywhere, people like bodies all over the floor. It's like, what are they trying to do? Because you're just running it up the middle over and over. Saquon's getting killed, and then you refuse. I mean, I get it. The first drive, right? You don't want to pass on the 1 inch line, but like they threw like one like pop pass to the wide receiver, gets tackled right away. It's like that was it. Like you had no
yeah,
other game plan of just like
no.
we'll see what happens.
I will say immediately right when that happened, before the game, I looked on DraftKings and saw Cowboys special teams or defense touchdown was like anytime score that with that was like plus 250 or something. I was like, that is so insanely low. And then
That's
first drive for the Giants, I'm like, this is about to happen. There's
yeah,
about to be a pick six, like easily. And then, yeah, to your point too about Dak throwing a bad interception, he throws a bad interception, and I don't think the Giants really even did anything. The whole
no,
season for them is just completely just pretty screwed. So I think getting to the next thing, and you're surrounded by Jets fans, Giants fans, is you are a native New Yorker, but you are a diehard Cowboys fan. Like you hear so much of what we have to say, but it would be interested to get your opinion as an outsider, having seen the Giants play two terrible games. Like, what would you do to fix if you were to fix the Giants if you had to?
yeah. I mean, right. Obvious first step is quarterback. I try not to talk shit to you guys too much because I love all you and you're all my friends, but like Danny Dimes is not the guy. Like he's just not. You can like get into the playoffs with him, I think, but like that guy's not going to win like a road playoff game in the divisional round, like ever. Like unless he
Yeah.
has the number one D and like weapons everywhere. And then also like I and you played football, right? Like, how do you have a third string quarterback who like can't really throw? It's like, why is he with a fucking team? Like, I looked up their depth chart before. And it's like, oh, Matt Barkley is now their backup. Like, I fucking trust him. He at least like played at USC and like
Yeah,
bounced around a little
Matt
bit.
Barkley's like our age now too, dude. I can't believe he's like if I was Matt, I like this. What I was also saying, like I don't. In my family group chat was popping off. They're like, they should sign Wentz. They should sign Matt Ryan. I'm like, you think those guys want to play with this offensive
But you
line?
still run for your life
I mean,
every week. You get the
if you want to
stitches
take
at
one paycheck and cash like an $800,000 paycheck, you're gonna be in the hospital by the end of that game. Like And yeah, I don't know. I think to your point about quarterback, right? Daniel Jones hasn't been someone to really elevate everyone around him like these great quarterbacks do, like Mahomes, like Tom Brady did for all those years. Like it didn't matter who was playing wide receiver for those guys. Like even though Tyreek Hill was so good for Mahomes and went on still great on the Dolphins, he doesn't really have that many weapons outside of Kelsey, and Tom Brady also had Gronk for those years. But outside of them, they also make random guys good. Like I don't even know the one guy on the Chiefs now, like Rashad Rice or whatever the hell his name is. He scored like a touchdown a game. Like who the hell are these guys? Like
You could literally throw like garbage up the street, and they're going to put up like 5 receptions for 80 yards with Mahomes. And it's like Danny Dimes, while he doesn't, I would on my list of things I would say the Giants need to fix, like not really surrounded by weapons, but like there's no one that he's elevating. It's just like, okay,
right,
well, if everything's not perfect, he's not going to succeed. And
yeah,
that's you're not
it's the
all the good teams,
NFL.
the top tier teams, like call it like Eagles, Chiefs, like they'll get it done no matter what's happening. And like if someone goes down who's important, Daniel Jones' game is ruined. And
Yeah,
that's where I think like you kind of have to just rip the band-aid, like, it's not going to work.
yeah. And I think a perfect example of that's happening right now, live, week in and week out, is CJ Stroud. He is elevating every single person on that team, running backs, wide receivers, like Tank Dell, all these guys look Nico Collins, these
Yeah,
guys look
yeah.
amazing. And it's like they were unheard of before this season. The Texans were supposed to suck. And now they're like, you have a guy who will obviously win rookie of the year, but he should be in the MVP conversation for how great he's playing. Like I think he matched Danny Dimes's touchdown total in that 1 week. I guess gets the Falcon a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, like 45
Yeah.
fantasy points. Yeah, I mean, and like even the Texans D now is like coming up super. Like I think they're in the top 10. Like I think it's a factor of not being constantly put on in bad positions when your shitty quarterback turns the ball over, or your team goes 3-and-out a bunch of times in a row, so you're just gassed. Because honestly, like when I was kind of thinking about the roster and where else they need to address, like the defense, obviously, I think linebacker has been like a Giants black hole for. I mean, who was the last good, like real solid middle linebacker they had?
Oh man, it's been so many years, but this year they actually, I got to give Joe Shane credit. Bobby Okereke does look really good. It took him a while to get ramped up a little bit, but him and Micah McFadden are kind of bright spots on that defense for guys who've stepped in so far this year. And I think they're only going to build on that. Like getting Okereke was a really good free agent acquisition, but to find a good Giants linebacker, you're going to have to go back in time. We played a good one the other week. Who Antonio Pierce coaching the Raiders, like he was a great one. Yeah.
But like you go through the defense, like you know what, like they're statistically, while they probably look bad on paper, right? It's like, well, they're constantly in the field, they're constantly in shitty field position where they have no chance basically. And any defensive unit's going to suffer overall. Like you start going around, it's like, well, they're like D line's pretty solid, like Thibodeau, I think, is a good player. Like, and then even their D backs, who's my boy?
Deontay Banks, fellow Terp.
Like he's having a good rookie year, solid rookie year. But it's like, they got good pieces where it's like you can't just point to like, oh yeah, they're a disaster.
That's what's weird about it.
I think the interior offensive line, like literally guard, center guard, you got to figure out something. Because like maybe it's just that game, and I know a lot of guys are hurt, but like every fucking play, it was like one of the guys was on his back and like just the play's blown up right as the ball gets down.
Yeah.
You could see it's not going to work. Where I think that at the tackle spots, like they've got solid guys when healthy. Like it's if you don't address that, the offense isn't going to matter. And then I was thinking too about weapons. Like right now, the Giants' offense, it's like, oh, we have our running back as our main weapon and kind of nothing else at the moment. Like that is such an outdated principle approach to offense. It's like, all right, well, every other team in the league's gunning the ball over the field and putting up crazy offensive numbers, and you guys are like, we're just going to run between the tackles and hope it works.
Yeah,
it's got to be like wide receiver, tight end. Like they got to figure that out somewhere because it's like Wan'Dale Robinson. I don't give a shit about him. Steve Slade, shit about him. Like
yeah. No, it is funny because it's like even last year. Like that was one thing that I was really pissed off about with last season, as good as it went. They had terrible wide receivers. They had Richie James. They had David Sills. They had like Shepard had got hurt after like 2 games. He's always hurt. Galladay was still on the team. He had a touchdown versus the Eagles. He had a one-handed touchdown versus the Eagles at the end of from Davis Webb, who threw him a pass. So, but that was the thing. The wide receivers, and they had Tony was on the team last year. before they traded him. Remember, like you forget that.
Yeah.
Like it feels like so long ago. Like and yeah, and then this year they revamped everything. They brought in Paris Campbell. They drafted Jalen Hyatt. And those guys like barely touch the field. Isaiah Hodgins was someone they signed off the scrap heap last year. He doesn't do shit. So I don't like. I would completely revamp it again because these guys did not work out in any way, shape, or form. But going back to your original point there about quarterbacks, the Giants are going to have a top at this point, like a top 5 pick, hopefully top 3, where they could really get a quarterback. And my main issue with it, and that's what everyone was ragging about the Giants for originally, was you just signed Danny Dimes. You guys made a stupid decision. Like the contract's not even that bad if you think about when the time the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, they had just paid Carson Wentz. A lot of people forget about that. And they paid Carson Wentz a lot of money. So it goes to show you can get rid of a quarterback, and it's not that big of like a hamstring to your franchise if you have that next guy.
No, you have to have the balls and not have too much of an ego to just say like, "Yep, made a mistake. We're gonna just eat the money and move on."
Right.
Like the Cardinals did, right, with Rosen. Like, "Yep, this guy sucks. We're just gonna take someone else and cut him, and that's it." Like,
yeah, and to piggyback off that point, you saw the 49ers do that, right? They traded all these picks for Trey Lance, and they admit right off the bat after 2 seasons or 1.5 seasons, like this isn't going to work. We know we messed up. Let's get rid of him. And we were lucky we took a quarterback in the last pick of the draft who could be a guy to be good for us. But I think with Brock Purdy, he has a little bit of that Mark Sanchez effect where they have a great defense, they have a great running game, and there's weapons all around. Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. And I mean, I think that's the main thing, right? Like, and this is the same thing that happened with the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. The Bucs sucked when they had Jameis as the quarterback, but they had Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, and a pretty good defense. And then you just throw a good quarterback in there to elevate everyone else's game. And next thing you know, you're winning the Super Bowl, right? So then that's what I wanted to end with to this conversation part was that's what the Jets are a little bit too afraid to do. They should have said, we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, but what we're going to do is completely cut bait with Zach Wilson. Like at least the 49ers were able to admit that they messed up. The Jets front office, for whatever reason, didn't do that. And they're stuck with where they are now. Like if they did Aaron Rodgers and just brought in any comparable backup, like that would have been a way better situation for them. And now, like, there's no way they could bring that guy back next year. Like he can't do it at this level, and he shouldn't be starting. It's like just admit you're wrong and move on. And the Giants have to do that too with Daniel Jones.
I think you have to just try to figure out a trade, try to figure out whatever, and just don't be too proud to say like, "Yep, we missed this one," and let's just try to build properly and not just continue to be mired in mediocrity and waste time.
Yeah, exactly. And the Giants are going to have a golden opportunity in April to right those wrongs and see. And also, what I think about it is if I was Dable, I would have to take a quarterback because a quarterback saves you and gives you potential job longevity. If you say, we're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and we're going to bank on Daniel Jones coming back after an ACL surgery, and you're 1-5 to start a season, you're gone.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
No,
you know what I mean?
You draft a quarterback and then it buys you like at least 2 years of like, okay, we'll see how he is in year 1. We'll start building up again. And then like, he doesn't want to have to sell his house again. Like, you got to do that. But
and I don't.
If Caleb Williams isn't there though, who else would they take?
Drake May, the quarterback from UNC, is pretty sweet.
UNC
but I got to do a full breakdown on this. I'm gonna have to bring in some of our friends that are the draft college pundits and get them going on this topic because they are pretty well versed with the draft classes and whatnot. But anyway, as this is a Giants focused podcast and show, I do want to get your quick take on the Cowboys rest of the season moving forward because you are fighting an uphill battle having to go against the Eagles. And, what's your prediction for the rest of the Cowboys season? Let's hear it.
I mean, I think a lot of it stems on a couple of factors. One, Tyron Smith has to stay healthy. Him being healthy right now, apparently he's not even practicing during the week. He's just playing Sundays.
He doesn't need to.
Bro, yeah, he's like a 8-time All-Pro. Like, all right, whatever. But like when he's there and they can slot the other kid inside, the guard, forget blank on his name, but like then the offensive line is so much more cohesive and effective, and then the whole offense could function properly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So him staying healthy is 1. 2, I'm very scared of Mike McCarthy shitting his pants, doing something stupid. Like he always seems to just like he tries to be ballsy at the wrong time, or like is overly overly aggressive at the wrong time, and then it always just bites us in the ass. Or conversely, way too conservative, and then it's just like we let a game slip out of our hands. I've seen it over the years a multitude of times. Like I'm so scared. The next time they play the Eagles in a couple weeks in Sunday Night Football, it's going to be like a crucial fourth down play in the fourth quarter. That as soon as he calls a run that gets stuffed, all my friends are going to text me, start talking shit, all these bad shit talking Giants and Jets fans. Like it always happens. So hoping that doesn't happen. But I mean, the rest of their schedule doesn't look too bad, right? They got the game against the Dolphins.
Panthers this weekend coming up. That should be an easy win. You're 10.5-point favorites
twice,
in that.
The Panthers, the Bills now, who might not even be good, I guess. I always we're still waiting for them to show up, and they haven't.
Yeah.
So
Bills are an interesting one.
They could get to 10.
The Giants should have beaten the Bills. They got the terrible pass interference at the end of the game.
Yeah. So they could get to 10 or 11 wins, but if you don't beat Philly and then you need some extra luck too, none of it matters. You're going to be a wild card team, which, right, still got a chance. But the challenge is, even I think right now the NFC, the Niners definitely look like not as scared as they were earlier in the year, even though they beat the absolute piss out of us.
Yeah, no, it is. A lot changes over a couple weeks.
Yeah. And
crazy.
The Lions are good, but there's still the Lions you don't know. I would feel somewhat confident against any of those teams, but not the Eagles, because they went to the Super Bowl last year. So tough this year. They're so good on all sides of the ball. Their D line is just terrifying. It's really hard to beat that, and I don't know if the Cowboys can, frankly.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing the Chiefs-Eagles matchup on Monday night. That'll be fun. Finally have a couple of good primetime games. And it was funny last night, right off the bat. I bet on the Bengals. I bet on the Bengals getting the 3.5 and money line, and that was just gone after halfway through the second quarter. So
do me a favor, bet on the Eagles in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always bet on the Eagles. So yeah, bringing us to where we'll conclude. My wife does have a bone to pick with you, as you've gotten me into this horrific collection of sports cards. So every single time the UPS or Amazon guy comes, it's and now I'm just getting into dumbland. I got a Isaiah Simmons Clemson auto out of 349. So yeah, it is funny to see.
We had a party the other week, and she was like, we have to hide. We have to get rid of these cards. We have to hide them somewhere. Shopping and bookshelves or whatever. It's not good. It's not good. I apologize.
It's all good. You know what? Like everything else, we'll take it to the moon, and everyone else will collect a lot of money when we get there. But anyway, Joe, it's been an absolute blast having you on the podcast. First guest appearance. I do wish the best for you. I don't wish the best for your team, but that's yet to be seen as the season progresses. And you know what? You don't have to worry about the Giants because they're not going anywhere this year, but hopefully a couple of years from now we'll be back.
Well, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. It's been a blast. And everyone out there, subscribe. Support me.
All right. See you guys.